Hey, Digital Nomad. How are you? It's really nice to see you. Thanks, Flop. Mercutio is a traitor and a thief of love, and I will not say hi to him. All right. Good morning. Here we are today in the morning times to say some prayers together to remind ourselves that we're here in this world that is immersed with meeting and emerges out of it, and we make of it what we will. So we're going to do some vocal warm-ups, and then we're going to say some words from the book of Deuteronomy, and then we'll follow that up by reading some ancient Babylonian mythology, and then we'll say Arati and Kaddish to conclude. It's really nice to see you too, Zen. You're looking gorgeous yourself, Jess. So, start by taking a deep breath in and exhale. Inhale. Exhale. So we're going to inhale, and on the exhale, we'll exhale with a tone, a low, even tone, as even as you can make it, as comfortable as you can make it. And we'll hold that tone for as long as we can. Ready? Inhale. And we'll repeat that exercise a little bit higher, right? I'll choose a tone that is closer to my speaking tone and try to hold that. And historically, when I do this first thing in the morning after sleeping, I haven't spoken very much, and this usually comes out fairly bad. It's practice. I practice in front of all of you. Why? I don't know, right? Aren't you supposed to practice before you start performing? But no. All life is practice, so I'm going to make some potentially ugly, high-pitched tone for a shorter period of time. It's going to go like this. So, with that preamble out of the way, we can begin. Shema goes like this. Shema Yisrael Asher Eloheinu Yahweh Echad. Good morning, Jolie. What are you up to today? I imagine you're going to work, right? That's what one does. What are we beginning? We are beginning a retinue of morning mantra repetitions, right? Morning prayers. This one is from the book of Deuteronomy, probably the most repeated prayer in Jewish theology, right? So after the Shema, which we just said, God is one. It's basically the thesis. We have a set of instructions for what to do with this thesis, because it's a thesis that is basically meaningless without a little bit of context or instruction. So, Vahafta, and you shall love, goes like this. Vahafta את ענת אלוהיך, ובכל לבבך, ובכל נפשך, ובכל מאודיך, וחיו הדברים האלה, אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך, בביתך, ולכתך, בדרך, ובשכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, וחיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך, ובשעריך. וחיה, כי הביאך אלוהיך אל הארץ אשר נשבע לאבותיך לאברהם ליצחק וליעקב, לתת לך ערים גדולות וטובות אשר לא בנית. ובתים מלאים כל טובה אשר לא מילאת, וברות עצובים אשר לא עשית, כערים וזיתים אשר לא נטעת, והלכת ושבת הישמר לך פן תשכח את יהוה אשר תשעך מארץ מצרים מבית עבדים. Work starts in September. You've had the whole summer off. Well, what? You've got 2 more weeks? What are you doing with your vacation time? I hope you're getting a lot of sleep. So, the words say, copy me. And so we copy them. User 97653 whatever, I am quite confident you do not know my father. My father is not a performer. Oh, hi! You have a different account now? That's strange. TikTok incorporated this new thing with, like, nicknames. Anyhow. Setting up your apartment. Are you living alone in that apartment? Do you have any roommates? I lost my train of thought. You have a cat named Ophelia. Well, I hope she doesn't die in a tragic romantic accident. Y'all know each other. That's really cool. I like audience connections. In any case, repeating old words. It's a very fantastic name, right? Like, you don't meet many people named Ophelia because, right, like, Shakespeare cursed the name with like anti-feminism tropes or what have you. I mean she's a very very compelling sad character, just not one that I'd like to be named after necessarily. But it's a very pretty name. Ophelia. Orpheus? Is it related to Orpheus? Maybe. Also a tragic name. Good morning, Dr. Punk. How are you today? In any case, for whatever reason that I try to explain every morning, but somehow I don't understand myself, I have developed a belief that repeating old words is important. Now back to the morning prayer. Yes, I have to do this, like, funny dialogue dance because I can't just, like, sit here and actually talk to you all. Like, I could, but it's strange because I'm not typing, right? So there's this imbalance. I can speak a lot faster than you all can speak. So I have to like hold two conversations at once. Like I do want to talk to you about your cat, your new apartment, and your new job. Like, I'm very excited for you, like very truly. But yes, I have to speak out of both sides of my mouth. You're off to the vet. Winston and Bjorn need a checkup. Are they cats? Are they dogs? Are they llamas? Are they ferrets? Good morning, Kimmy. How are you doing? Thanks to the rose. They're dogs. So I developed a belief that repeating old words is important, and I think I developed that belief when I learned that there are protein amino acid sequences in my body, like ubiquitin, that are analogous to the same amino acid sequences that you see in E. coli, right? Like a creature that is probably more distantly related to us than anything else, right? Like what life does is repeats its patterns. These patterns in these stories, right? We're going to start a new story, Atrahasis, right? Which is basically the Babylonian version, one Babylonian version of the Noah story, right? The Great Flood, although it's also a creation story, right? So we see this story in this 4,000-year-old form that gets repeated in a 3 or 2.5-year-old form in the book of Genesis, right? So the stories are very old, and they might not mean anything anymore, right? I think much of their meaning derives simply from the fact that they are old, and they tell us something about the way our ancestors thought about themselves, and maybe that can tell us a little bit about how we might better think about ourselves. At least that's the general logic. Maybe they're just good stories, right? If they stick around for this long, they have to have some reasonable narrative structure. But of course, we just read about Marduk and the creation of the world, and how he like kills his great-great-grandmother and then fashions a giant palace out of her skin and bones and creates humans out of a sacrifice of her lieutenant in order that they might toil for the gods. Like, it's not actually a pleasant story. It's certainly not a story that promotes egalitarianism or human rights, right? It's a story about power, and how power exists in the universe and structures the lives of others. So we're going to start this story now about a flood and pernicious gods who want to destroy humanity, but then change their minds. Atrahasis, Tablet 1. Shall we begin? Atrahasis begins like this. When gods, not men, performed the work, bore the burdens, the weight was too great, the work was too taxing, a sore plight. So, the 7 great Anunnaki made the Igigi to load, to take the load, right? So, like, there's this trope, right, in these Mesopotamian myths that, like, creation is for labor, right? It's for creating servants. So the Anunnaki make the Igigi, and then later on, after the Anunnaki and the Igigi like reach some sort of truce, they'll make humans to take over the work of the Igigi, right? So like the cosmology of the ancient Mesopotamians explicitly believes that we are here to be slaves for some divine kings, right? Very convenient if you were positioned as a divine king, right? To claim that all humanity below you was created to do your bidding, right? It's a very interesting political structure. Anyway, when gods, not men, performed the work, bore the burdens, the weight was too great, the work too taxing, a sore plight, so the 7 great Anunnaki made the Igigi to take the load. The king was their father, Anu, their counselor of war, Elil, their chamberlain, Nimrod, their canal manager, Ennugi. Taking up the container, they cast lots. The gods divvied up, so that Anu took his home in the heavens to live in the sky, while Elil went to make his abode among the men of earth. And astute Enki acquired for himself the entire sea's crater. After Anu was in the sky, and the Apsu gods did descend, then the heavenly Anunnaki made the Igigi take the load. They caused the gods to carve out the many water canals. They had to open up the conduits, the sustenance of the land. They caused the Igigi to carve out many water canals. They had to open up conduits, the sustenance of the land. So the immortals carved out the channel of the river Tigris, and the divinities carved out the channel of the Euphrates. boring at a chamber at the lowest depth, setting stanchions in the depths of the waters of the Apsu, beneath a covering of land, they placed braces within, situating these to raise it aloft. Those which stand at the peaks underlying all the mountains, they kept track of every year long that they worked. The excess water drained down to fill up the great swamp, and they kept track of every long year that they worked. Good morning, Sarah. So, thus begins the Anunnaki, the story of the toils of the gods, right? So we have this interesting creation myth that the gods were created to sort of make an engineering feat, right? Make the Tigris, make the Euphrates, make the rivers that form the land of Mesopotamia, and make the world therein. Right, so we will continue on in this story. It's going to be, I read a page a day, right? So it will probably be months before we reach the conclusion of this tale with the Great Flood and Anunnaki building an ark with all sorts of animals within. But I think it's good to read old stories. And maybe I don't have to explain myself, right? I'm on TikTok. I can just go on live and read old stories because I want to. Without any theological consequence. So, all right. Now we'll say a different prayer. A prayer about prayer. Because I'm in the mood to do that, too. I'm glad you all are here. And that we can still do this together. Every day I'm grateful for it, really. Sometimes I wonder what I'm doing with my life, but this is a good part of it. But I don't want to pray to my maker, no, I just want to be feeling free. Not just who I am, but the pink and golden land, and that wide, wild sky over me. Help me to the sun, hey, I'm looking everywhere, see, I'm looking to become not the prayer, but the prayer, and I don't want to pray, no. I don't want to pray, no. I don't want to pray, we don't want to pray. And it's not much good to talk, better to walk it. Ooh, not much good to take, better to give. We are done, forgiven, and forgotten of our sins. So I promise you, my friends, all that dies will live again. So, pardon, God and Mom, what I'm saying isn't fair. See, I'm looking to become not the prayer, but the prayer, and I don't want to pray, no. I don't want to pray, no. I don't want to pray, we don't want to pray. And it's not much good to talk, better to walk it. Ooh, not much good to take, better to give. We are done, forgiven, and forgotten of our sins. And I promise you, my friends, all that dies will live again. So, pardon, God and Mom, what I'm saying isn't fair. See, I'm looking to become not the prayer, but the prayer, and I don't want to pray, no. I don't want to pray, no. I don't want to pray, we don't want to pray. Love Allah made love, and Yahweh made hate. Asher made good, and Anat made bad. Eloheinu made love, and Yahweh made hate. Love Allah. God made. But I don't want to pray to my Maker. I just want to be what I see. Not like in a book, or the leaves of trees that shook, from a word that means only not a thing. Hashem. Pardon, God and Mom. What I'm saying isn't fair. See, I'm looking to become not the prayer, but the prayer, and I don't want to pray, no. I don't want to pray, no. I don't want to pray, we don't want to pray. I love Allah made love, and Yahweh made hate. Asher made good, and Anat made bad. Eloheinu made love, and Yahweh made hate. I love Allah. God made me. You fixed it, Danny girl. You're here. I was just going to say that, Jolie. Gosh, Jolie, you are perennially so helpful. Yeah, if you click the link in my bio, you'll find a link to a website where you can find a link to a Discord server. I'm going to change that because I'm no longer teaching classes, so that website's out of date, so I have to update the website. But the Discord link is still valid. Yeah, so you can get notified about the lives if you like. Thanks, Grim Skies. I appreciate that. Good morning, Dark Havana Amanda. Dark Haven Amanda? Yeah. And Pamela. Hello, everyone. I do say hi to people. Love from New York. How do you do that? Alright. I'm not judging. Let me see if I can say this very efficiently. Discord is a chatting app, right? It's a chat room app similar to Slack, if you've ever used Slack. So you need to make a Discord account, and like maybe that's a pain in the ass and you don't want to do it. I wouldn't blame you if you didn't, but I think that that piece of software is like really great. I much prefer it to email or other ways of digital typey types. Any case, once you have a Discord account, you can click the link in my bio and click the invite to the Discord server, and then you'd be in the server and you can chat with all of these lovely people, many of whom are in this room right now. Yeah, it's a nice little place. Thanks, Amanda. I like this tree too. Reminds me of my roots. Tree of life. Anyhow, now it's time for Arati. So the word Arati means flame or light in Sanskrit. Right, here's this little flame. My cat is like Ophelia reincarnated, who now prioritizes herself and yells at all those who disrespect her. Yeah, you know, Hamlet was a really terrible boyfriend. Like a really, really awful boyfriend. Like, emotionally abusive. You don't... Driving your girlfriend to suicide, it's a bad look, right? Says you need to reconsider your priorities. You just joined my Patreon? Oh, Danny girl, you're the first person to join that Patreon in like probably a year, because I stopped advertising it because I didn't really know what I was offering people. Like I demonetized the Discord server because no one was joining. And did you know that running a business on TikTok is very challenging? And I don't actually have a good business plan because I just want to be here in the morning and say sacred words. But thank you, Danny girl. I appreciate it very much. Yeah, one of these days I'll revamp the Patreon when I figure out what I can actually give people that's worth their money, because, 30-second long dumpster videos is not actually worth paying for, unfortunately. Hello from New Zealand. Kia ora. How do I pronounce that? Aote ora. Aote ora. Kia ora, aote ora. New Zealand. It must be in Maori, right? I hope you have a lovely day, too. Thank you, Danny girl. You bring joy to my life, too, you know? It's true. It's mutual. So, Arati means light or flame, right? Here we have a light or flame. I mean, I guess it's both. Te reo Maori. So... We're going to say some god names in Sanskrit, and I particularly like saying this prayer after reading from this book, right? Because we talked about the Igigi and the Anunnaki and Anu and Enlil, and right, and these are all gods that you've probably never heard of in any context other than perhaps an old story, right? Whereas these gods, the gods in Arati, they're not quite as old, but they are far more alive, right? There are people in the world who say these names every day. Because they have impact. And yet, the syllables are just as meaningful or unmeaningful as any of these ancient syllables that no one worships anymore. Right? They're all just names, sounds that we make in order to describe what is ineffable, right? What cannot be captured by human language. That source of stuffness, which made us all. Right? And we're on this world, and we don't know what to do in it, and we suffer because we've got bodies, and we want relationships, and the relationships don't work out, and right, and rather than descend into existential malaise, which I often do, sometimes I return to these old stories because I think, oh, well, maybe these old god names, they might give me some sort of context for which I can understand the suffering of my life a little bit better. I did not know I pronounced Maori well. I'm glad that you think so. So, we'll say Arati now. Thanks for the wishing bottles, Dr. Punk. Jaya Jaya Arati Vina Vinayaka Vina Vinayaka Shri Ganesha Jaya Jaya Arati Subramanya Subramanya Kartikeya Jaya Jaya Arati Venugopala Venugopala Venuola Papa Vidura Navanita Chora Jaya Jaya Arati Venkantaramana Venkantaramana Sankatarana Sitarama Radhe Shama Jaya Jaya Arati Gauri Manohara Gauri Manohara Bhavani Sankara Samba Sadashiva Uma Maheshwara Jaya Jaya Arati Raja Rajeshwari Raja Rajeshwari Tripura Sundari Mahalakshmi Mahasaraswati Mahakali Mahashakti Jaya Jaya Arati Anjaneya Anjaneya Hanumanta Jaya Jaya Arati Dattatreya Dattatreya Trimutri Avatara Jaya Jaya Arati Adityaya Adityaya Bhaskaraya Jaya Jaya Arati Sanistaraya Sanistaraya Bhaskaraya Jaya Jaya Arati Sankaracharya Sankaracharya Advaita Gurave Jaya Jaya Arati Sadgurunata Sadgurunata Shivananda Jaya Jaya Arati Vishnu Devananda Vishnu Devananda Vishnu Devananda Jaya Jaya Arati Agastya Munaye Agastya Munaye Shriyama Priyaye Jaya Jaya Arati Ayappa Swamine Ayappa Swamine Dharma Shastave Jaya Jaya Arati Jesus Grave Moses Grave Buddha Grave Jaya Jaya Arati Muhammad Grave Guru Nanak Grave Samastya Gurubho Namaha Jaya Jaya Arati Venugopala Natatra Suyobati Natandrakaratam Nima Vidyobati Kutayamagni Tormeva Bantamidabhanti Sarvam Tasya Basya Samidam Vivanti Om Gange Kayamane Kaiva Govari Saraswati Narmade Siddhikaveri Namastitam Namo Namaha. Twameva Mata Chapita Twameva Twameva Bandisha Saka Twameva Twameva Vidya Dravinam Twameva Twameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Kayena Vacha Manasendriyarva Buddhyatmanava Prakrite Sabhavat Karomi Adyat Mangalam Parasmahi Narayanaiti Sarmar Payami Savadharmam Pravijaya Mamikam Safaram Vrija Aham Sva Sarva Papayo Mokshayami Masucha. Whatever actions I perform with my body, speech, mind, senses, my nature, my intellect, or my emotions, all these I dedicate to you, to all of you. And I really mean that, right? Like, I know I say it all the time, right? So it sounds kind of perfunctory. Yes, morning prayer. Like, quite literally what this is a dedication, right? Like, I don't know what life is for. I think I have more persistent doubts than average, perhaps, which is why I find myself compelled to do these very silly things, right? Why am I going on this weird social media app and saying these old words? It's because I seek meaning, right? No religion, all religions, right? I seek meaning in history, in the history of my ancestors, far and near. Right, and so I actually cannot conceive of what life would be for other than to dedicate my life energy to the people around me. And that's basically all that I do. And because it's 2022 and we have these strange devices, right, the people around me include you, right? There's a bunch of cell phones all around me digitally. And so I do dedicate all of the efforts of my life to you all, right, in some small way. I'm glad you're loving the existentialism. Sometimes, like, it literally makes me feel like I'm insane. Because I'm like, what do words mean? Why are the leaves turning brown out my window? I want it to be summer all year round. But you know, I can recognize my own irrationality from time to time. And, am I single or married? I guess I'm married. I'm not legally married, but I'm also, like, you know, there's a lot of things about me that are not recognized by the state. But yes, I'm in a set of relationships that constitutes a marriage. Julia, surprisingly, I know, like, I guess this is incongruent. I don't engage in astrology, or at least not modern astrology, right? Like American style newspaper pop culture astrology, right? Like, study ancient astrology, right? There's this very interesting sequence in the Enuma Elish that we read a few months ago, probably the oldest statement of astrology that I know of, talking about the different stars that Marduk made and their meanings, right? I think that modern astrology is blind to its own history, and that makes it very difficult for me to connect with, right? Because I don't think that planetary determinism, right? I don't think that the position of the planets determines my personality. It's an interesting meaning system that I'd like to delve into, but if I'm going to do it, I want to do it in a more rigorous way than I can do on TikTok. There are quite a lot of things about me that are not recognized by the state. Do you know how many names I have, Jolie? I have far too many names. I had to fill out paperwork because I got a new job at the university, and I filled out the forms for it. And they asked me to give them my sex, my gender, my given name, my last name, my chosen name, and my birth name. And I had to fill out all of these things because anyway, yes, I'm married in a way that is not recognized by the state, because it's not binary or monogamous. But, you know, it's fine. Marriage is older than the state. The state co-opted it, and it didn't need to. It just did. Yeah, the end of summer makes me sad. My community is not open for all. I wish it was. We don't have the infrastructure for that. And we're far too culturally homogenous and xenophobic, unfortunately. What's the difference between a given name and a birth name? I don't know. I'm also, like, ad-libbing a little bit, but they did ask me to give them 4 names in, like, a strange order, right? They asked me for, like, my, wait, do I have it up? I might just have it up and I don't have to ad-lib it for you. No, it's not up. Anyway, basically the way that they asked me to fill the form, it looked like my name was Teresa Thaler Maxwell Katesh. None of which are actually my names, but I filled out the things the way that they wanted, so it goes. Xenophobic, xeno is other, and phobia is fear, right? So I would say that if my community is an emergent identity, right, there's 9 of us here, or 15, depending on how you count, I would say that we have some pretty strong cultural frameworks and ways of seeing the world, and because those frameworks are so strong, we also have a lot of implied xenophobia in that we are afraid of otherness, right, because we stick to ourselves very tightly, and it means that this community is very inaccessible to many of the people who would like to spend time with us. And I wish it were otherwise, but also I don't actually know how you can create a coherent group of people without having some amount of xenophobia. You know, everyone is afraid of the other on some level, right? Because the other is not you. So, I think it's time that we wrap up. Hi, I love you. I'm in New York, so I can see you. This is my friend Jules. They were teaching a mushroom class with me last month, and you might have seen them in a handful of videos. You should follow them if you don't. They make really great queer mushroom content, hence the name Amanita Rainbow Mushroom Queer. They're really great. You should say hi to them. What you doing in Richmond? Alright. I think it's time to conclude, so we will conclude with a mourner's Kaddish. Jules, have I ever shown you this image? I feel like I must have, because it's the best image. This is Katesh. She's a goddess with a solar and lunar disc, and she carries snakes, and she rides a lion, and she arouses the Egyptian gods to her left and right. Bye, Dr. Punk. My legal name is not Katesh, right? But my name is Katesh because my partner's name is Katesh, and I took the name Katesh because it had a rich and vivid etymological history. So Kaddish means prayer, or Kiddush means prayer, or Kadosh means holy, or Kadesh was a city in ancient Syria near Aleppo, and Katesh was an ancient goddess, and Kadeshah was a temple prostitute, and the mourner's Kaddish is a prayer of grief, right? So we can say Kaddish, we can grieve for the world that once was that no longer is, and our relationships which once were, which no longer are, and we can grieve all of the people in our life who we miss, who are gone, and we can grieve the way of life, life, I can't, what is life? We can grieve the ways of life that are no longer accessible to us. And when I say this prayer recently, the way that I think about it is not grieving any particular thing or person, but rather trying to actually grieve the patterns in my brain that I want to let go of but can't, right? The desires that I wish I did not have, the attachments to false ideas or hurtful ideas that I can't get rid of because they're in me and they are me, and I want to release them, right? So I say Kaddish in a hope that one day they may be gone, right? Or maybe just for the moments that I'm saying these words, I can let go of those patterns in my life which do not serve me. And so the mourner's Kaddish, which my ancestors have been saying for at least 2,000 years, goes like this. Yidkadal v'yidkadash Shema Rabbah B'yama Divrachyote V'yamlich Malchute B'chayachon V'yomechon V'chayidikol Beit Yisrael B'galav Yizman Kari V'imru. Amen. Yehe Shema Rabbah Mevarach Li'alam Olmei Olmaya Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitba'ar V'yitramam V'yitnaseh V'yitadar V'yitaleh V'yitalal Shema Dekudisha B'richu Le'ela Min Kol Birchata V'shirata Tushbechata V'nechemata Jemiran B'yama V'imru. Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabbah Min Shemaya V'chayim Aleinu V'yachol Yisrael V'imru. Amen. Oseh Shalom B'imramav Huya Aseh Shalom Aleinu V'yachol Yisrael V'imru. Amen. Oseh Shalom B'imramav Huya Aseh Shalom Aleinu V'yachol Yisrael V'imru. V'imru. Amen. Thank you so much for joining me today. I will see you here tomorrow. Actually tomorrow. I know I haven't been streaming every day for a while because I had students, but now I can actually stream again tomorrow. So I will see you tomorrow. To say these words once more. It'll be nice. We can remind ourselves once again that we are alive together in this world. So, very well. I hope you have a really lovely day. And, yeah, I'll see you again some other time. Bye.